I'm currently in the process of trying to help friends of mine who I have brought over to white well-being. Cool. That's awesome, man. I mean, that's what we're supposed to be doing. Folks, are you hearing what I'm reading? To stop consuming porn, he says. He wants to get them to stop consuming pornography. He says a huge victimizer of young white men, I find. Yeah, they end up wasting like an ungodly amount of time. Do you have any tips on how to defeat bad habits and addictions? Well, this is like any other bad habit or addiction, with like drinking too much. Some people can drink in moderation. Some people can use substances, we'll say, in moderation. Some people could look at pornography in moderation. Some can't do any of those things in moderation. If you have an addictive personality, you know you. Don't fool around. You know you. And you know you better than most, right? And so you're going to have to stay away from it completely. That's going to have to be a cold turkey sort of a thing. You have to stop. You have to never go back. You can begin in some cases. I mean, it depends on how bad your addiction is and how much of an addictive personality you have. It's a great question. Thank you, Mr. Bloom. Depending on how bad your addiction, if you are an extremely, if you're the kind of person that is won't very easily to addiction, you have to just say absolutely not, zero toleration, and that means you've got to get rid of it totally. You've got to, if it's pornography, you've got to delete all of the links. You've got to delete all of the videos or pictures. You've got to throw it all away. You've got to have no contact with it whatsoever. You've got to get onto your browsers and you've got to turn on the block so that these things can't even come up. You could type it in and it's not even going to come up because the block is on. You would have to take extra steps to get through it. And those who have even a mild addictive personality, those of you who can say, okay, I'm going to say, 2 weeks, I'm not going to have a drink. I'm not going to hit a whatever. I'm not going to look at pornography for, 2 weeks or whatever. You can start that. You could be like incrementally make it less and less until the blow is less severe. So, and then you implement the exact same strategies. When it comes to pornography, that's usually done in like a solo sort of a thing. You usually don't like hang out. If you're hanging out with a bunch of people, look, you got a really big problem. You might want to seek a therapist. But more of a problem for substances, alcohol, and things of this nature. You've got to get away from the people that you do those things with. And that can be tough, but it is a reality. And you have to be focused on your life, who you want to be, what you want to achieve, how far you want to go in life. You need to remember one of the most important things when it comes to any of these things, all of these things, that your body is the temple of our people. You want it to be pristine. Now, there are some of you out there who will be able to have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and you'll be in complete control, and you'll have no need or desire to go back at some time earlier than would be healthy or something of this nature. But ultimately, in this includes eating as well. What you're going to put in your body, food-wise, of course. Metaphorically, eat a lot of things. I shouldn't have done that. Stop him. He's being so nasty. What is wrong with that guy? The same thing holds true. So, and how do you realize or appreciate the value of your body and spirit, and the thinking, your consciousness that emanates from the organ of the brain, and it might be involved in the spirit we can't measure yet. So we could just tack that on there. How do you develop that value? Well, going free is hugely important to that, because Your mind, your subconscious mind, the one you live 90% of your life in, is full of concepts that tell you that you're worthless, you have no value, you're scum if you're white, you come from an evil people, you deserve to, you should punish yourself. In fact, that's moral in that anti-white story. So you've definitely got to implement the method of going free as a practice in your life that you're doing. It's regular, so that you begin to realize that you are an important person, you have value. Do you think watching a porn and some sort of excess, and what would excess be? It would be when it's harming you, right? Do you think that watching pornography this way is any different than that very heavy woman, Chantel Foodie Beauty, that I talked about with Carlisle, who is abusing herself with food, killing herself with food? Do you think there's any difference? No, you're doing that out of the exact same reasons when you get right down to it. Because yes, I get you're looking at a beautiful woman and you see, I get it. But you obviously know that pursuing a healthy relationship with a woman is going to be infinitely more rewarding than looking at it in a magazine or on your phone or on the desktop or whatever it might be. You know that it's humiliating. Quite honestly, you know that down deep it's humiliating. And if you were able to begin treating these mean pathogens, these concepts inside of you that make you feel like you're the lowest of lives on planet Earth, you'll realize that you are worth more than something so degrading as that. So don't go, I would say definitely do not make it a moral crusade against pornography to better yourself. I mean, you can go on a moral crusade against it for any other reason, but not to better yourself, because that has no teeth. That won't work. Don't give it up because you think, unless you're super religious, that God doesn't want you to do it or something like that. Because we see all the time people, especially in Christianity and Catholicism, you're just going to get endlessly forgiven. Mormonism, endlessly forgiven. So don't do it for God. Do it for you, for what you want to be. I want, especially all you young guys right now that Bloom is talking to, I want you to realize that where you are, who you are today, is a consequence of what you were doing yesterday. And who you're going to be tomorrow is a consequence of what you do today. If today you're fapping away, then tomorrow you're going to be the same loser in the same seat, the same soiled seat, looking at the same stuff online, except you know what? Just like every other drug, it'll have to get harder core and harder core and harder core till you get to the point that you can't be a A grade, above A plus grade love maker like me. If you want to get to that point, you got to give that stuff up. And especially if you're addicted, you can't get away from it. You got to give that. It's a sensitive subject, like any addiction is. It's very tough. Even the eating addiction we were talking about with Foodie Beauty. And I guarantee you, everybody out there, you think it might be like funny or silly, somebody gets addicted to that, or so. I guarantee you, just like we could look into Foodie Beauty's eyes when she broke down in Cuba and she was screaming into the camera about how much she hates the white race and how much she hates herself for being white. Finally, it coming out, the truth. I guarantee you that's in every one of these young men. Sure, they're going to have the bravado. They're going to cover it up consciously with that little 10% on top. Hope the rest of you isn't like that. And they're going to say, no, not me. I don't have any white guilt. No, not me. I know what's going on in the world. Not me. Bullshit. Bullshit. Inside of every single one of us is that child that we were. Pure innocence, being taught how evil our people is, and therefore how evil we are. We made, unless you are some serious handicap retardus, you made that connection many times in all of those iterations that it was delivered to you as a child, and you got that message. And it's part of your identity. There's no deleting it. There's no consciously think, well, just today I just decide that that's not the case anymore. No, it's a lifelong treatment, what they did to us. You will know when you begin to touch those nerves, when tears flow from your eyes, like they were flowing out of Foodie Beauty's eyes when she finally broke down for the camera and her audience. You'll know, because you'll feel that hate, and you'll, for yourself, for our people. And then you could take it, that fire that starts burning inside of you, that rage for what they did to you, that can never be just cured. You have to treat it your whole life. You can take that rage and you can say, to spite you motherfuckers, I'm going to ensure that this guy, this gal, becomes as pristine as is humanly possible. And I'm going to ruin as much of what you have done to this world as I possibly can by putting into the mouths of our people the concepts that liberate them from your poison. That's how I live, folks. And I'm going to tell you, young men, I've gone a long way. I've been through a lot of shit. Even in this white sympathetic sphere, regularly undermined by parvenus who are happy as hell to be aggrandized and make a ton of money for themselves. And trust me, they made a ton of money. I've given up all the money, all the opportunities that I could have taken, angles I could have taken to make tons of money out of people in the white sympathetic sphere. I've absolutely never even considered it. Because what matters is what's good for our people. That's the mission. You want to be a holy warrior? You want to do what's right? You want to be the best? You want to be more than you could ever imagine you could be? Then you got to start going free. You go free of every poison out there. And then you know what? I'm no choir boy. I'm no choir boy. No, sir. You excel, you become that champion. You'll find somebody. I don't know who that somebody's going to be. Most of you will. Some of you are destined for other things. But you'll find somebody. And then, if you want to rock her world while something's playing on the TV, well, you'll have it in its place. And that's the way things are. Thank you, Mr. Bloom. I really appreciate that. That's the way things are for me. So you don't try to live up to some impossible standard set up by, I don't know, some of these preachers out there. Then you always catch them. They always get caught doing something that's more despicable than you can imagine, except with the other anti-whites out there who claim to, of course, hate religion, hate Christianity, hate Catholicism, hate Mormonism, hate our pagan religions. They're always doing something even worse. Don't try to live up to those types of standards. You live for the spirit of the West, and my friend, you will find power that you could never imagine. And if you want to would rather just, be a miserable little stain on your office chair or wherever you sit for this sort of thing, well, why bother to live another day? I can't imagine even want to do that for another second. I know this. Our greatest are looking on. But they're not looking on from some mountaintop. They're not looking on from some cumulus cloud. They're in here, buddy. And you can either disrespect them or you can tap in to the ability that they have waiting for you. Let's see where you go. That's your challenge.